The last speed reviews video I did on my channel was all the way back in the beginning of August. So I thought it was finally time for me to update you on the makeup that I have added to my collection over the last 3 months. I also have one skincare item to add into my review today. I did just do a relatively recent skincare review, like faves and fails of all of my affordable skincare, and I'll leave that link down below just in case you want to check it out, because this skincare item is really the only new thing to my routine since I filmed that video. And since I'm already rambling about it, let's just do this one skincare item really quick here at the front, and then I'll move into all of the makeup that I've collected over the last 3 months. So this is the Good Molecules Ultra Hydrating Facial Oil. I bought this because I noticed that the other kind of oils and serums and moisturizers that I've been using all throughout the spring and summer are not really cutting it anymore for my very dry skin. I do live in Colorado. It's a really, really dry climate here, and then I have dry skin naturally. And so I do need something, as this says, ultra hydrating, particularly in the fall and winter months. This, in my eyes, is a fairly expensive skincare product. And I know that it's not actually, but it's $10 for 0.44 fluid ounces. And the other sort of hydrating oils or serums that I've used in the past have been around half that cost. I've been using this on and off for around 3 weeks. So I really wanted to get a sense of if this was doing as much heavy lifting as I thought it was after the first time I used it. So the first time I used it, I woke up the next morning and my skin felt drastically different than it usually does this time of year. Normally, my skin is pretty dry by the morning if I do my skincare at night and then sleep around 8 hours. When I wake up, my skin is really dry already. But when I woke up, it felt like I had literally just applied like a moisturizer or a facial oil, and it blew me away. And so I used it consistently for about a week. It was just every single morning I was blown away. And then I stopped using it for about a week to see if it was really truly this, or if I had like unknowingly changed something else in my routine or in how I was applying my moisturizer or something like that. And my skin felt dry again in the mornings. And so I do know that it's this, and I have gone back to using it every single night now. And I don't know, unless I find an alternative to this that works equally as well, I don't know if I'll ever stop purchasing this. I guess it's making a huge difference. Okay, and now on to makeup. I've got a few foundations, 4 eyeshadow palettes, some lip products. Let's just dive on in. The first thing here is kind of a one-off. I don't really have like a category to lump this in with, so I'm just going to start out with it. This is the Fenty Beauty Mademoiselle Plush Matte Lipstick in the shade Dragon Mommy. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, I should say, you probably remember me picking this up like a long time ago. It was like all the way back in August when it was still summertime. And so looking at this lipstick now makes me a little bit sad that summer is gone, but I do really love fall, so I'm glad it's here. But man, I did not get as much use out of this in the summer as I would have liked to. But let me give you just a really quick speed review of this, since that's what I'm supposedly doing here, even though I've already talked for a very long time about that facial oil. I truly love this lipstick. I love this color. It is absolutely stunning. Let me just swatch it for you. It deserves it. Look at that. It's just such a good color. It's so good for the summer. I genuinely cannot wait to start wearing this again. It's so beautiful. And I love this formula. I love this color, but I especially love this formula. And it's a matte lipstick, but it's extremely comfortable and it feels like genuinely nothing on my lips. Nothing. And I don't think I've ever really used a matte lip product that does that. Usually it makes my lips feel like tight and dry, and it feels kind of heavy if it's a matte formula. This one feels light as a feather. It's absolutely gorgeous. It really is such a shame to me. I think they're discontinuing this line altogether, or at least they're taking it out of Sephora. It's been on half off sale or clearance there for a long time. I got mine for $7. There are still some shades left on Sephora, and most of the shades are still available on the Fenty website. So I don't know, I love it. I love how lightweight the formula is, and the shade range is full of like gorgeous lip colors that you cannot find anywhere else in any other brand that's sold somewhere like Sephora, like a mainstream, easily accessible brand. So they have like green and blue, and they have like dark chocolate browns. They have this like bright orange color, and they just have so many beautiful colors. And it makes me sad because the formula is incredible. I love the shade range. I really wish they would keep these around, but if you can snag some on a sale, I would highly recommend it. All right, next up I want to talk about the two newest foundations to my collection. It's the Essence Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation and the Smashbox Studio Skin Hydra Foundation. So I bought both of these on the same order from Ulta because I was trying to find a replacement for my favorite medium coverage hydrating foundation, which was the Makeup Forever Ultra HD foundation. I got rid of mine recently. I gifted them to a friend, and I needed to replace that formula in my collection. So I wanted something hydrating, medium coverage, buildable, nice skin finish. And I have to say, I did a video where I did each of these kind of side by side, one on one half of my face and one on the other half of my face. And I have to say, I am impressed with both of these. I do really like them. The Essence has slightly lighter coverage than the Smashbox. They're both billed as medium coverage, but the Smashbox is buildable to like a very high medium, almost full coverage, whereas the Essence doesn't build on itself very well. I am wearing the Essence today, so it is a solid medium coverage. Like I feel that I have plenty of coverage when I'm, coming at it from the perspective of wanting medium coverage. I think the Essence does totally fine, but if you want something that's truly buildable, I would go with the Smashbox if you're kind of picking between these two. I gave really thorough thoughts, and I did a wear test with both of these in that video where they're side by side, so I will link that down below in case you want kind of a more in-depth review, but I do like and recommend both of these products. Also in that same video, I did side by side on my eyes. I did the Essence I Like to Mauve It palette and the KKW Beauty Classic Blossom palette. So again, kind of doing drugstore versus high-end in the same look. And same thing, I'll link that down below just so you can see them if you really want to see them like in action and if you want super detailed thoughts and a wear test. But the bottom line is both of these are good quality. I will say the Essence one, if you go watch the video, you'll see that although it's these beautiful like purpley tones in the palette, they do all come out a little gray on the eyes. I don't hate it. It's just you're gonna get an extremely cool tone, almost gray purple look out of this palette. However, like this mirror is nice quality. The packaging is nice. Honestly, these are well formulated. Like they blended just fine. They weren't patchy, which is typically the problem I have with cheap purple eyeshadows. That didn't happen. They're just a little bit off on the coloring. I would say that for $3.99, which is what this costs, it's a steal of a deal. And they have multiple colorways of these. I've seen reviews from other people saying that those other shades are very good quality as well. So I do think these Essence palettes are worth it. I just think I ended up with a colorway that maybe, I don't know, it's just a little disappointing to think you're gonna get mauves and then to come out with like a very gray eye look. The KKW Beauty Classic Blossom Palette. So this, I don't think you can find anymore, very sadly. It was on clearance at Ulta when I bought it, and then after I did that video, it was still on clearance for a while. You could still get your hands on it, but I think at this point it is fully discontinued. I think this is just one of the best neutral leaning eyeshadow palettes I've ever used because the quality's there. It's super user friendly. I think these are all not the most pigmented shadows ever, and so it takes a lot of building if you're someone who wants a ton of impact. But if you're relatively new to makeup, or if you like lighter eye looks and you want to be able to really control your eyeshadow, these are great. They're really outstanding. The only shade that I don't like, and I said this in my initial review and I stand by it still, is this shade up here. It's like a, I don't even know. It looks like it's supposed to be a satin. It swatches kind of like a satin, but it's just really dry and it's just impossible to get it to look nice. So when you have a shade so similar that's like a nice blendable matte, why would you ever use that one? But aside from that, I do really like this. If you happen to own this, I would just pull it back out, fall back in love. It's a really gorgeous palette. And I have two more eyeshadow palettes here. And actually that Essence and the KKW Beauty palettes, although I like them well enough, these two coming up are really the two palettes that I am like most excited to own. First up is my Pat McGrath quad. This is the Venus and Fleurs Luxe Quad in the shade Voyeuristic Vixen. And I can't even tell you guys, I love this so much. I had quite the debacle with this palette. Sephora shipped it twice broken, and it's just really sad. So I actually repressed these shadows myself. That's why they look a little funky if you see them looking a little weird in the pan. I will link the video where I did that, where I kind of like repressed both of these. So I actually have two of this palette now, both of which were broken and both of which now are at least functional for me. That being said, I really love this palette for obvious reasons. I mean, like, you can just see how reflective and outstanding these two shimmers are. They are like perfect. This bronze shade is awesome because it's not too warm nor too cool. It's just like a perfect mid-tone shade. And then this one up here has a gold, rose gold kind of duochrome flip, and it's gorgeous. You have a nice highlighting shade, which I love. If quads don't have a highlighting shade, I get a little bummed out because then I have to pull a whole other thing out, and then it kind of defeats the purpose of having a nice quad to just rely on. So I love that this one does have a nice highlighting shade. And then this matte, I will link the video down below where I just use this for an all matte eye look. And this matte is so weird. Let me swatch it and see if I can show you kind of what I'm talking about. So it's like a full pigment, dark brownish rosy color, but when you blend it out, it turns into like a rosy pink. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show you. There, you can sort of see. When you blend it out, it just gets rosier and rosier, and somehow it ends up looking like 5 eyeshadows on your eyes. And so I thought I was not gonna be able to use this as a crease color for my skin tone. I thought it would be too deep, but it's not. If I put just a little on my brush, it comes off as like a nice light rosy pink, and then I can also use it to deepen up my outer corners. So this is like the most functional and versatile quad I think I've ever bought in my life, not to mention that the formulas are incredible. So I would recommend this. It's expensive. I bought it full price. I wouldn't change a thing. And then the last palette I have to share with you is my Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette. So this is the holiday larger instant eyes palette for this year. And you guys, when I open this, my heart still like skips a beat. Just like it did when I first saw the photos of this, and just like it did when I finally pulled the trigger, bought the dang thing, and got it in my hands and opened it for the first time. I love this color story. I love it. I love it. And I know a lot of people are like, it's boring. It's redundant with her other palettes. Well, guess what? I don't own any other Charlotte Tilbury palettes. So it is not redundant for me. And I adore this palette. I love that it has a matte black, a matte brown, and it has two kind of mid-tone mattes as well. And then it has a really nice light highlighting matte as well for my skin tone. The shimmers in here are outstanding. I'm actually wearing it today. It's the shimmers on my eyes. So the matte here on my outer corner is from my Ofra Samantha March Life's a Draft palette. And then on my lid, I have this middle shade from the Love Eyes Trio. And then tapped all over the top of that, I have the lightest shimmer in the palette. Kind of just tapped all the way over the top and up to my brow bone. Oh, and on my inner corners. Honestly, you guys, every single shade in here is outstanding. The color story is beautiful in my opinion, and it's much more versatile than it might look on first glance. So if you have been interested in trying something out for yourself this season that's a little more luxury, I really, really, really highly recommend this. Okay, and then last up here, I've got the entire makeup range from Merit Beauty. They did send me all of this makeup earlier in the year, and I did an initial video on all of these. So I will link that down below in case you're curious on kind of my initial thoughts. But now, multiple months later, so that was in, I believe, August, a few months later, I've been using these really consistently, and I want to give you kind of updated thoughts. I'm going to try to do it quickly because that review video is pretty thorough, and I don't think my opinions have changed dramatically on any of these, but I want to give you enough of a sense of how I feel about the brand as a whole in this speed review. So their entire makeup line has 7 products right now, but I've broken it into 3 categories. Category 1 is things that I do not like, do not think they're worth the money, don't think they're worth any money. Frankly, I don't think they're good products. Category 2 is products that I like from the brand a lot, but I think are a bit overpriced for what you get. And then category 3 is products that I truly love, that I have used constantly. And when I say constantly, guys, I mean like every time I do my makeup, I'm reaching for these things. And I feel they are definitely worth the price tag that Merit is charging for them. So let's start out on a negative foot here and then work our way up. I only have one thing that I just genuinely don't like from the brand at all. And this is their, what's this called? Volumizing pomade. No, it's not called that. Shoot, guys, these don't really have the real product names on them, so I'm sorry about that. But this is their brow product. I have it in the shade Blonde. I think this is called like 1984 something. Sorry, it's a bummer. I wish they would put the names on here. It has a relatively large spoolie for a brow product, but that's not really my problem with it. My problem with it is that it is a volumizing pomade. I love how it looks when I first put it onto my brows. It looks really volumizing. It gives them a nice little bit of a tint. It plays really nicely with my naturally like fluffy big brows, but it doesn't hold anything in place for more than like 2 minutes. Like within the course of putting it on one eyebrow and then switching to the other eyebrow and putting it on, my first eyebrow already droops. So I'm not wearing it today. I'm wearing something else, but it essentially just, in my eyes, feels like an unnecessary step. If I'm gonna have something that doesn't hold my brows, I would honestly rather use like a brow pencil to just really quickly fill in the gaps and then not worry about using a brow gel that's a little messier, especially because this is kind of big. It does kind of get on my skin a little bit. Now, if you're like the opposite of me and you don't want your brow products to hold your brows in place and you really do just want like that little bit of quick tint, this might be perfect for you. I just feel like for most of the makeup consumers I know, this would be pretty ineffective and frankly, really expensive for what you're getting. Okay, next up is the category of stuff that I actually really like and recommend. However, I don't necessarily think it's worth the price tag that Merit is charging. So first up is their complexion stick. Again, sorry, it doesn't have the name. I think it's called the Perfectionist. I have the shade Dune, which is like a good shade match for me. I mean, if you look at it next to the part of my face where I don't have bronzer, it's like the exact color. So Dune is a great shade. They have a good shade range on this, I think. It's pretty low coverage, but my big issue with this is that you get almost nothing in here. You get 0.13 ounces of product, and a normal foundation is around a fluid ounce usually. And I looked at my other concealers and most of them are around 0.2 fluid ounces, so even more than this. And this is billed as a combined foundation and concealer stick. So beautiful formula, really smooth, really creamy, gives just a nice light perfecting wash, but I would never use this as more than like a spot concealer because you'll go through it so fast. And I think it's $38, somewhere in that price range. I can't justify recommending that to someone when there are much cheaper alternatives, or when you could get an entire fluid ounce of foundation from a high-end brand for that price. Next up in this category are 2 products that I'll give you the same rundown of essentially, and that is their highlighting balm. I have the shade Kava, which is the lighter of the 2 shades. It's just a really nice champagne. And then the other is the Flush Balm Chic color, and I have the shade Cheeky, which is a really beautiful kind of cool toned deep pink. Now, both of these are really beautiful. I do love them both. I just think they're overpriced for what you get. These are both pretty expensive. I want to say somewhere in like the mid to high 20 range. And I just highly recommend that if you're in the market for something like these 2 cream products, that you look at Salt New York instead. And I know that's a bold claim, because they're different brands. They're doing different things. They have different aesthetics, different goals. But the formulas of these 2 products remind me so much of my Salt New York products, but slightly less good versions. And they're like $10 more per product than the Salt New York products are. So for example, The Flush Balm Cheek Color is really, really sheer, which is gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, I love a good sheer cheek color. It's especially beautiful with like a really lightweight base or no base at all and just like on your bare skin. It is stunning, stunning. But my Salt New York creams do the exact same thing. They do the same thing. They're sheer, but the biggest difference here is A, the price. The Salt New York is around $10 less and they frequently run sales. The other big difference here is that this Merit Beauty one never fully dries down. It stays pretty tacky on my cheeks, which some people don't mind at all, but I just find that the longevity of the Salt New York ones is a little bit better because they do dry down pretty well. Now, basically everything I just said about the Flush Balm cheek color is the same for the highlighter. This shade here in their Dew Balm Kava is almost a dead ringer for the shade I have from Salt New York called Beige in their highlighting formula. So if you're looking for something comparable, I would recommend that. The Salt New York shades I have are very different than my Merit cheek color, so I'm not going to try to give you a comparison, but I do know that that Salt New York does have kind of this peachy berry tone in their line. I think there's a raspberry shade that's pretty dang close. So I'm just going to put it out there, just putting it out there, that I think that Salt New York is, in my opinion, a better brand for these two products. And then that leaves us with 3 products here. The one that I switched over from the like not quite worth the money but I like it category into this loves category is their brush. And this might come as a surprise. I think this is my only kind of change of opinion from that initial review that I gave. In that review, I basically said, this is a $30 brush, you don't need it. There are equally as good of brushes at the drugstore for $10 or less. I just don't see how they're valuing this at $30. However, since then, I have traveled with it as my only brush on a trip. And I also have noticed how frequently I reach for this for cream cheek products. So I was using it to blend out the foundation in that video. And for that, it's kind of ineffective. It's a little too small in my opinion to like cover your face quickly enough to be worth it. But for cream cheek products, nothing beats this. I mean, it is like the exact size and shape I want. You can turn it at different sides and different angles and get like different parts of your cheeks covered. It has enough density and softness that it just like blurs the edges of cream products perfectly. So I take it back. Well, I don't fully take it back. $30 is still a lot of money for a synthetic brush, but the little short handle makes it really nice for travel. It is incredibly soft, incredibly nice. I still wouldn't personally use this for foundation, but I do use it almost constantly for my cream cheek products. So I have to say, I do think it's worth it now. Next up in the Love It category are their shades like tinted lip oils. So I have 2 shades of this, but they're the same formula. I have this peachy shade called Marrakesh, and then I have a neutral brown shade called Taupe. Both of these are just unreal. I love them. And they have 8 shades of this now, including one that is a clear shade and including one that's like a very deep brown as well. And so they have a good range and I love them. They are nourishing. They are like the perfect wash of color. I just adore them. They are what I want to wear with every single makeup look that I do. I can't stress this enough. This is all I ever want to put on my lips anymore. It's all I want to use. And I have genuinely neglected like all of my lipsticks, all of my other lip glosses or lip oils. And I have essentially only used these since I got them. In particular, Taupe. Marrakesh is really beautiful, but it is a little more of like a statement. It is a color on my lips. Taupe is just like tints my lips a little bit deeper and makes them a little less pink. And it just goes with everything. It goes with everything. It goes with everything. If you want like one good lip product to own, like just one, this is what I'd get. Taupe from Merit. And then last up, their mascara has won my heart. And I didn't necessarily expect it. I've actually seen some pretty negative reviews of this mascara before receiving it. So I sort of went into it with the mindset of like, I don't know. might be smudgy, might be smeary, might be flaky, might not like it. But I shouldn't have even thought about that because I love this mascara. It has never smudged or flaked on me. It's a tubing mascara, although at the end of the night when I wash it off, it doesn't come off in like as nice of like perfect little tubes as like my Thrive mascara does, but it still comes off just with warm water. It still doesn't need to be like scrubbed at with like a makeup remover or something. It still comes off really easily, just warm water. And I can't express to you enough, like, I don't ever want to wear regular mascara again. I just can't. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it because it comes off so beautifully. It gives me actual volume. Other tubing mascaras I've tried only give me length, which I love, but this gives me both, and I don't know really how they did it. I don't know how they did it. Alrighty, that is it. That is what I have gathered over the last like 3 months or so. It's honestly not all that much. I do now feel a bit overwhelmed with my eyeshadow palette collection just because there's a lot to choose from in there now. But I love it. I'm excited about these new things I've added. I have been really, really careful, really, really selective about what I've purchased lately. And every single thing that I bought is at least good enough that I'm gonna keep it for a long time. And that makes me happy. I'm glad I'm not just willy-nilly buying anything. I am very carefully curating a makeup collection that I genuinely care about. I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope it was useful for you to see some updates on all of the new makeup in my collection. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.